show process of interview.
Doing the necessary thing, they saying they will get back to you and not getting any feedback from them.
Online for there was a time I went for an interview, and when the person saw me, I was like, "What are you doing here?" But it was an hotel. So it's like, "You're a graduate, what are you doing at the rest? We'll call you back."
The hiring process of getting a job is seamless up until we reach to get to one or the employers.
At times they might say, okay, this post is not for someone with disability, or this position is not for someone with disability. A job has not been okay or good for me at all.
Private organizations always say that for work in companies, and on Sunday, if they won't accept me. I tried different companies. I struggled, and at a point I was tired.
We are being told we can, and they don't give any or persons with disabilities being
Coming because the reaction got from a friend that read enable and
project Africa's net. I saw it. I liked and was selected. I was going to check any office for training. I taught many things that I've experienced in my life.
In the past, when you hear with special needs or disabilities, you just think, oh, they are the beggars on the road, or people knock on your cars when you are driving. They've introduced people with special needs differently, because they're not just bringing them from their homes into the corporate environment, so equipping them with the tools they need to be able to function though in an environment like this. So they had made that transition for them, and also for us as an organization.
Project Africa had a with us, and were able to understand the little sign language to communicate and to also introduce some facilities into restaurants that can also make them add value to the business.
People with disability should be given a chance just like every other person, especially in the hospitality industry. And when I mean given a chance, I don't mean being put at the back. I believe they should be shown, because I believe there's ability in every ability. And meeting up with Project Enable has helped a brand to make that dream come true, because we start taking some of the persons with disability to work with us, and we don't shove them at the back. I mean, we need them to be seen.
I believe that the training that Dacosta has received from Project Enable Africa has really equipped her for Radisson Hotel negotiating industry that she might want to venture into later on.
In a guest relation officer, you need a behaviorist, you need the IT skills also. During the training, I was given the IT skills. It was also part of it, which I'm using now.
The skills I learned at the Inclusion Hub at Project Enable went a long way in my workplace, from the life skills, time management, goal setting, empathy, value, everything.
The skill set I learned from Project Enable has enabled me to be able to deliver to the customer and meet the expectations of the customers.
Coming to my interview with international bureaus, my current boss made it seamless with the words he said to me, which he keeps saying, and is an assurance that if anyone else can do it, I can do it.
Without a doubt, Chidinma's presence has fostered a more inclusive environment in our team. Our ability to openly share experience and advocate for inclusivity has encouraged our teammates to be more mindful and supportive of diversity in our workplace.
The Today project and working with international bureaus has given me hands-on experience and skills that I need to achieve a successful and thriving career. And for my finances, they both have provided me with a means to earn.
I never expected to be one of these big out. I cannot walk in the midst of people without being discriminated or being looked at like, who is this person? Why is she like this? Okay, 1 year. It's giving me a means of survival. It also helped me, I and my family, to be able to live and to sustain our living. Because if you're not working, there is no way you can make money.
Now I can see that I could pay my rent myself, and it's part of what we're taught. Project enable our finance, how to manage our finance.
That's just a reflection of Project Enable is inputting into people with disability that never had gotten any opportunity on their own to get a job. Them the training, and then in touch with organizations that can partner with pick the trainings of Project Enable, and that's what we're enjoying in BCI.
If not for Project Enable, I would not be the corporate organization, because my intention was just to do my thing low-key, to cover myself because of my disability. But Project Enable has taught us that no, there's ability in disability.
I'm sure I would still be jobless by now if not for this opportunity.
My heartfelt gratitude goes to Project Enable in partnership with MasterCard Foundation for giving me this opportunity of a lifetime.
Because what they did was very, very life-saving.
I would like to say very big well done to Project Enable Africa and MasterCard Foundation for what they are doing.
These days that we keep talking about inclusion and diversity, these two organizations have not just paid lip services to this, they have proved it that they want people with disability to fully be included in every organizations do.
In fact, thank you. Once more, if there is any other word for me to use, I would have loved to use it. I would say big thank you to Project Enable Africa and also MasterCard Foundation for this very, very
I'm working at Sheraton Hotel as a laundryman. I wouldn't have gotten a job here, but because of them, I got to work. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Project Enable at 10. What a wonderful success.
Yeah, it still feels like yesterday, 10 years ago, when all of this started. Hello, my name is Olushola Owonikoko. I'm Project. One day, on one of those rides, it was in a tricycle. I was seated in front that day, holding on so that I don't fall from the tricycle. And at that moment, I realized that the guy riding the tricycle was a person with physical disability. He didn't have legs, but the tricycle had been adapted to his need. Right there in that keke napep was a bet of Project Enable Africa, because I realized that his impairment wasn't a disability. It was an environment that wasn't adapted to his needs. We eventually started in April 2014 as a program of the Carrington Youth Fellowship Initiative of the United States Consulate. I would say that the United States Consulate incubated Project Enable Africa, and we had, had their support ever since.
I remember when Project Enable first started, then we were working with people with disability in the Surrey community, and there was a campaign, a rally that we were holding, and we all assembled at Testing Bagogo Stadium then. And we had so many people with us. We had Dr. Joe with Maggie, I can never forget. Stand behind her, and she was just so passionate about it. We were driven by passion. Having different people come up to us and say that, oh, what you are doing is wonderful. No one has ever done this before.
There is no further way to talk about inclusion, to talk about not leaving it behind, when persons with disabilities don't have skills.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. And I'm so excited that you can actually make it. Yay! All right, beautiful people all over the world. I'm welcoming you to this wonderful, exciting, educative, and most importantly as well, entertaining webinar that is to commemorate the International Workers' Day. This is organized by Project Enable Africa, and we are your one-stop organization when it comes to disability inclusion programming. That is what we do at Project Enable Africa. And I remain your very humble host, Oluwakemi Odusoya. You choose to call me Eagles, I will definitely accept that as well. And before I start, I would like to recognize interesting, wonderful personalities who have joined us to ensure we have a conversational day today. First, in no particular order, I want to welcome Bayonle Olaoluwa, known as Mr. Observer, is a sign language interpreter who is here to bridge communication gap for deaf and hard of hearing individuals. So, Bayonle Olaoluwa, welcome. And right now, I will do like a very brief introduction of my visibility. When I mean visibility, I mean what you can see on your screen, right? This is to bridge communication, or let's say to bridge a sense of belonging for visually impaired persons. You know, people we regularly call the blind or low vision individuals. So I am chocolate. I like to say chocolate in complexion, right? I wear a broad smile and I have spectacles on. It's brown in color. Are you putting that to context? I have my natural hair styled in afro. I also have this pearls, like this white beaded pearl across my afro hair. I'm putting on a brown pattern, kind of like, we say tiger kind of pattern, right? Yeah. So that is, you know, the picture of Kemi on the screen for visually impaired persons. Right. So to begin this conversation, let us put into context why we are here, basically, right? In case you are wondering, like, why do we have to do this? It's very, very important, right, to celebrate workers, staff all over the world. And that is why we are here today to celebrate the International Workers' Day through the team that we are, you know, promoting here at Project Enable Africa, promoting decent and inclusive, you know, workspace for all, right? And we are very, very particular about persons with disabilities who form the constituents of the marginalized group. And some persons will be like, why do we need to talk about that? Because they matter. They are part of conversation. They are, you know, they bridge interactions between the society. They ensure that inclusion actually matters, and that is why we are here. All right. So in case you're joining us from Facebook, we say thank you. Welcome. Share it, like, comment, and don't forget to put down your question in the chat box because we will definitely get to that. You're also joining us on YouTube. We say thank you and welcome. And joining us from Instagram, we really do love you. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and ensure that, you know, you tell someone to tell someone because we have started. Okay, so at this juncture, we will be introducing, a very brief documentary, right? That would explain just a little, because I want you to be, curious to know more about what we're doing. This is like taking a glass of water, okay? So we'll be introducing a documentary of what we've done here at Project Enable Africa. Remember what I said earlier, that we implement projects, create awareness, advocate for persons with disabilities across diverse sectors, such as the health, education, social economic empowerment in general, right? And we do not also forget to ensure that we talk about political inclusion for persons with disability. So if your hands are not too busy, all right, so right now we'll be showing you a brief documentary of some of our projects, the success story that we've gotten so far on our project, right? So just stay tuned and relax. Ensure you pull down some things in the chat button, right? And ensure that when we come back, because I'll be asking you questions. If you get it right, you never can tell. I can take you out to the Bahamas. I'm just like that. I'm, generous like that. So let's go to the documentary.
It's a challenge getting a job in Nigeria, and a greater challenge for persons living with disabilities or albinism because of our limitation or lack of awareness of our capabilities. We have this stigma of being rejected, and it tends to show in one way or another during the process of interview.
Doing the necessary things, they you and not getting any feedback from them.
I applied online for some jobs, and there was a time I went for an interview, and when the person saw me, I was like, "What are you doing here?" But it was an hotel. So it's like, "You're a graduate, what are you doing in an hotel?" Yes, we'll call you back.
The hiring process of getting a job is seamless up until we reach the interview stage, where we get to talk one-on-one with the HR or the employers of labor.
At times they might say, okay, this post is not for someone with disability, or this position is not for someone with disability. So securing a job has not been okay or good for me at all.
Private organizations always say they don't have facilities for persons with disability. Some they will just say, I'll get back to you.
I searched for work in companies, and on getting there, and noticing I am deaf, they won't accept me. I tried different companies, still won't be accepted. I struggled, and at a point I was tired.
We are being turned down or being told we can't be hired, and they don't give any reason. But we albinos or persons with disabilities, we tend to read what is being said.
So I knew that they were not even coming back, because the reaction from that person was a total no. But thank God for the opportunity I got from a friend that referred me to Project Enable, and here I am.
I stumbled on Project Enable Africa's training link on the internet. I saw it, I liked it, and I applied. and was selected. That was how I was going to Project Enable Africa's office for training. And we were taught many things that I have not experienced before in my life.
In the past, when you hear people with special needs or disabilities, you just think, oh, they are the beggars on the road or people that knock on your cars when you are driving. But with Project Enable, they've introduced people with special needs differently because they're not just bringing them from their homes into the corporate environment, but they're also equipping them with the tools they need to be able to function well in an environment like this. So they had made that transition for those people much easier for them and then also for us as an organization.
Project Enable Africa had a section with us, and then we were able to understand the little sign language to communicate with them and to let us know that we can also introduce some facilities into the restaurants that can also make them add value to the business.
People with disability should be given a chance just like every other person, especially in the hospitality industry. And when I mean given a chance, I don't mean being put at the back. I believe they should be shown because I believe there's ability in every disability. And meeting up with Project Enable has helped us as a brand to make that dream come true. Because recently we started taking some of the persons with disability to work with us. And we don't shove them at the back. I mean, we need them to be seen.
I believe that the training that Dacosta has received from Project Enable Africa has really equipped her for Radisson Hotel Lagos and any other industry that she might want to venture into later on.
A guest relation officer, you need a behavioral skills, you need the IT skills also. During the training, I was able, there was IT skills, the behavioral skills was also part of it, which I'm using now.
The skills I learned at the Inclusion Hub at Able went a long way in my workplace, from the life skills, time management, goal setting, empathy, value, everything.
The skill set I learned from Project Enable has enabled me to be able to deliver to the customer and meet the expectations of the customers.
Coming to my interview with international bureaus, my current boss made it seamless with the words he said to me, which he keeps saying, and is an assurance that if anyone else can do it, I can do it.
Without a doubt, Chidinma's presence has fostered a more inclusive environment in our team. Our ability to openly share experience and advocate has encouraged our teammates who are supportive of diversity.
Their projects and working with international bureaus has given me hands-on experience and skills that I need to achieve a successful and thriving career. Finances, they both have provided me with a means to earn.
I never expected to want a big hotel. I can now work in the midst of without being like, who is this person? Why is she like this? And again, it's giving me so being paid also me. I am able to sustain because if you are not working, there's no way you can make it.
I could pay my rent myself, and it's part of what we're taught at Project Enable us how to manage our finances.
That's just a reflection. Project inputting people with disability that would never had gotten any opportunity on their own to get a job, giving them the training, and then of course getting in touch with organizations that can partner with Enable to pick any of these people with disability that gone through the trainings of Project Enable we're enjoying in BCI.
If not for Project Enable, I will not be in the corporate
organization because my intention was just to do my thing low to cover myself because of my disability. But Project Enable has taught us that no, there's ability in disability.
I'm sure I would still be jobless by now if not for this opportunity. So it's a very big thank you and more grace to your elbow.
My heartfelt gratitude goes to Project Enable in partner Foundation for giving me the opportunity of a lifetime.
Because all it was very, very simple.
I would like to say a very big well done to Project Enable Africa and MasterCard Foundation for what they are doing.
These days that we keep talking about inclusion and diversity, these two organizations have not just paid lip services to this, they have proved it that they want people with disability to fully be included in everything organizations do.
In fact, thank you. Once more, if there is any other word for me to use, I would have loved to use it. I would say big thank you to Project Enable Africa and also MasterCard Foundation for this very, very big opportunity that has been given to me.
I am working at Sheraton Hotel as a laundryman. I wouldn't have gotten a job here, but because of them, I got to work. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, welcome back to the room. And just like our participants have said, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you were able to catch one or two things because, for you to be a worker, you would agree with me that you start from diverse stage, right? And if you are a human resource practitioner joining, on the call, there are diverse steps such as, the selection, the recruitment, all those stages where you place out the adverts, where you ensure that you get the right candidate for the job role. This is what participants with disabilities who had gone through our project had gone through as well, because they have to learn the skill of employability to be employable regardless of their disability. Okay, so this and many more is what we do at Project Enable Africa, ensuring that persons with disabilities are not left behind in the employment sector, especially when dealing with, legal statement. For example, the National Disability Prohibition Act 2018 talks about a particular quota for persons with disabilities. And like I like to put it, right? Qualified persons with disabilities. And for you to get qualified, you should have some certain skills that ensure that you are sustainable in that job role. And that is why we're using today to promote the inclusion of persons with disabilities in terms of decent employment. Because, hey, you can be employed and yet you do not have a decent and even dignifying and meaningful employment. You can just be there to pass away time or just to get, the money, right? And that is why we've chosen this team to promote decent and inclusive workspace for all, right? Because persons with disabilities are first persons, first humans before the disability, right? And we are choosing to celebrate this spectacular individuals today, 1st of May 2026. Just to put a context to it, right? We have several laws because I'm trying to lay a foundation because we have beautiful speakers, experienced professionals, HR practitioners, legal, personalities, and even media persons who will be breaking this down from professional and lived experiences. So you have a lot to learn today. But before, they get on that seat, let me just put a context to it. I earlier mentioned that the National Disability Prohibition Act talks about a quota for persons with disabilities to be employed, which is 5%, right? Several states in Nigeria as well have their quota, right? Lagos State has 1% under review at the moment, and also some other states, you find some states have 3% and all that. But often than not, like one of my legal practitioners like to say, it's not just about what is written, it's about actioning that thing that is written. If the Nigerian disability law talks about 5% for persons with disabilities. And when I mean persons with disabilities, in case you're just hearing that word or you've been hearing it, it's a buzzword, but you don't know what category falls into that. We have the visually impaired persons, hearing impaired, we have the persons with communication disability, we have the intellectual impaired persons, we have psychosocial impaired persons. So this words are actually compound words, right? We have diverse impairment category like the blind, the deaf, the cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, autism, persons with albinism, the dwarfism, etc. Okay? And these individuals, you would agree with me that you've come across them one way or the other, either in a derogative manner, right? Or in a, let me say, an ethical manner. I'm doing well, right? So what I mean by that is, across your environment, you can find some persons who are blind, deaf, or what have you, begging across the street. Some can be due to ignorance. Some can be due to charitable model. However, as an employer of labor or as the society, we need to ensure that everyone, regardless of disabilities, live a dignified life, right? And going back to that quota or the law, right? Going back to the law, we need to ensure that it is actionable. We have several persons, several organizations, multinational, national, states, what have you. You're buzzing in the euphoria of diversity, equity, and inclusion. You're buzzing in the euphoria of the colors and all of that. But have you ever sat down to think about persons with disabilities who are actually qualified or have skills that can contribute to your organization, that can ensure that it is value for value? Have you ever thought about that? Or you're thinking, what can a blind person do? You're not wrong. Or you're probably thinking, what can a deaf person do? You're not bad. You're still on the road, right? But today's webinar, we're going to ensure that you learn more, right? Coming from organizations, coming from individuals who have this experience. Persons with disabilities can do more if only just give them that chance, that opportunity. And it can start with internship. It can start with volunteering roles. Just ensure that these persons are not left behind. Because they are listening to me as an HR person. When you push out that advert, you say, we need a 5 years experienced person. We need this person. But have you forgotten that when that person with disability comes to your organization to seek internship, you'd rather turn them down because you feel you do not have the equipment to absorb these individuals? So this and many more is what we will be talking about. Don't forget to like, share, put your comment down in the chat box, and we will definitely ensure that we do this appropriately. So right now, I'll be yielding the mic to an amazing personality, an handsome male gender, okay, who is the executive director of Project Enable Africa, to tell us about Project Enable Africa. And after that, we'll be going straight into the panel session to meet our distinguished guest, where we will be unveiling things about inclusion, employment, and the society. So if your hands are not too busy, can you put a reaction in the chat box? Let's get to know to be sure that you're actually following us. Please welcome Mr. Olalekan Owonikoko. Thank you. Please welcome, welcome, welcome. Put in the reaction button. I see you. I see you. All right. Mr. Owonikoko, you have the floor, please.
God, thank you, Luakemi, and thank you everyone that has joined, this event today, and of course, thanks to all of our guests that we're having today. It's so good to have all of us, and then to have these conversations. I was thinking that, while I was waiting for Kemi to call me. And I was just thinking that last year we also had this sort of conversation. It was a physical one last year, but why do we then need to still have this conversation? And I think that that's because until our society becomes a completely inclusive one, or until we attain a significant level of inclusion, we need to keep having these conversations. For some people, it might be a reminder. For some people, it might be a recommitment to what this conversation is about, a recommitment to inclusion. And then maybe to some people, it's knowledge, it's education, right? So it's wonderful to be here. And I look forward to having an amazing conversation. We have amazing guests here who have a profile, who have done things, especially in the workspaces, that makes them credible to be here to join this conversation. And then to everyone who is watching, who is listening, either you're a person with disability or not, you occupy or you sit at a table where this conversation is important, and we want to hear your opinion. We want to see your reactions. We want to see what you think about what we're saying, and then get feedback from you. So thank you, and thank you again. I'm going to introduce my guests, people who are joining on this panel, so that we can then have this fruitful conversation. Like Emi had said, Project Enable Africa is an organization whose ultimate goal is to see a society where inclusion is at the centerpiece, not an afterthought, but a core part of our society. And over the years, we've done incredible work, around employment, empowerment of persons with disabilities. And as I was watching that, documentary that was played, it's just amazing. It's just surreal to see, the impact over the years. Same people who did not think they would be able to work in a corporate organization because of disability, but who have now spent 3, 4, 5 years working in those same organizations, rising from one level to the other. And I think that that's significant. And so if you're a person with disability watching and joining us today, one of the things you have to understand is that there is no limit. And why we're having this conversation is so that we can continue to help you remove the barriers that might want to prevent you from, fulfilling and actualizing your dreams and your desires. All right, so I'll go into my guests. This is not for some of the guests, this is not the first time that we're having this conversation, and well, particularly with me. So definitely looking forward to that. Our first guest today is someone who I would consider, a part of the family. She represents an organization that has been a part of, journey over the years of being a supporting partner in this organization. Someone who personally has also been driving inclusion in our own sphere of influence. And that is no other person than Kemi Shonobi. Thank you so much for coming. And we'll just run through her profile so that we all, understand, and then we can appreciate what we have here today. And then when I'm done, I'm going to call her name, and then with a resounding, if we can, round of applause or emoji, just celebrate her. Kemi Shonobi is a dynamic and highly respected human resources executive, a strategic advisor, and workplace culture advocate with over 2 decades of experience spanning multiple industries. She currently leads as the Director of People, Culture, Experience, and Operations at TVC Communications, where she's focused on creating thriving people-centric environments that drive performance and employee fulfillment. She is renowned for her ability to translate complex HR strategies into practical, result-driven solutions with deep expertise in people management, organizational development, and strategic HR planning. She's a sought-after voice on topics such as building great workplaces, leadership development, and the evolving future of work. A fellow of the Institute of Management Consultants and the Institute of Leadership Coaching and Strategy, Kemi is also a member of several esteemed bodies, including the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, the Society for Human Resources Management, and the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development. She's proudly part of the Forbes BLK community, reflecting a commitment to global excellence and leadership. Kemi also serves as a board advisor on people and strategy to Precious Conceptions Nigeria Limited and Tech for Our Africa. Off the stage, she's the founder of HR Storyteller, a platform where she shares powerful narratives on work and life, using storytelling as a transformative tool to reshape HR practices and workplace culture. Kemi brings a compelling blend of strategic insight, emotional intelligence, and authentic storytelling to every speaking engagement, making her a captivating and inspiring presence at conferences, leadership forums, and corporate events. Please, everyone, with an ovation, celebration, emoji celebration, and however we want to celebrate, please let us make welcome to today's conversation, Kemi Shonubi. Thank you, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much, Olalekan, for the warm welcome. I'm grateful. It's an honor to be here again. And it was indeed beautiful listening to my namesake, Oluwakemi, who did a fantastic job of outlining why we're here and the importance of why this conversation cannot be kept in the back burner. Thank you so much, Olalekan. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for having us. Our next guest today is no other person. All right, he is the CEO of Impact of Lagos, and that is Mr. Idowu Akinde. I know I met him sometime last year. Idowu Akinde is a startup coach and investor. In simple terms, this means that he helps founders build their startups by connecting them with intellectual, social, and financial capital. He is also a serial entrepreneur, and I've so far had the privilege of offering some type of mentoring, advisory, or coaching support to over 3,000 founders in 23 cities in 19 countries on 4 continents, where he offered them a robust critique of the assumptions underpinning their ideas. He currently leads the team at Impact Hub Lagos, which is a member of the world's largest social entrepreneurship network focused on building communities for impact at scale. Please let us welcome the CEO of Impact Hub Lagos, Idowu Akinde. Thank you and welcome, sir.
Hi, good morning. I hope I'm audible and visible. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to
Thank you.
The conversation. Thank you so much.
All right. And I think my third guest is also here, and I'm going to read this. I'm going to read the profile right now, and just work on with the same energy, with the same excitement. I'm going to welcome Trust Inonse. Trust Inonse. Trust Inonse is a Lagos-based broadcast journalist and communication strategist with a track record of shaping narratives across media, civil society, and international development. As producer and head of special reports and projects at Lagos Talks 91.3 FM, he leads some of Nigeria's most compelling radio programming while simultaneously consulting for the MasterCard Foundation, where he brings strategic communications expertise to one of Africa's most influential development organizations. With experience spanning editorial leadership, multi-stakeholder campaigns, and digital content, Trust operates at the intersection of journalism and impact-driven communications. He has contributed to high-profile initiatives, including the BBC Media Action Town Halls and advocacy events, and co-founded Spotcake, a digital platform that reflects his entrepreneurial instinct for building audiences from scratch. Ladies and gentlemen, online audience on Zoom, on Facebook, please let's welcome to the conversation, Trust Inonse.
Hi, good afternoon. Sorry, good morning. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be a part of this. Yeah, good morning. Glad to be a part of this, and hope to share my little experience moving forward.
Everyone coming. So we'll get right into the conversation straight away. Like Kemi had given us a sort of background. We're talking about inclusion in the workspaces, particularly promoting decent work rights and dignity, ensuring that our workspaces are inclusive enough for persons with disabilities to be to actualize, to be comfortable, and to realize their dreams, their potentials, and then contribute meaningfully, to the ecosystem. And well, we have, different. Our guest occupies different areas of the society, of the workspace. We have someone in the media space. Of course, that conversation is extremely important. We have someone who is working as an HR, a people's person, right? Who essentially is responsible for people in the organization. And then we have a startup support person who helps to ensure that businesses succeed. And I think that this is a compiling conversation that we'll be having. And of course, there's one more person. I didn't see him earlier on okay, it's here now. And who, of course, is going to be bringing the policy part of this conversation to make it, an entirely complete, conversation. And I'm going to introduce and, just read his profile to us as he joins that conversation. And that is no other person than Barrister Lukman, who is the immediate chairman, Nigerian Association of the Blind Lagos, and is currently the Lagos State JONAPID chairman. JONAPID stands for the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities, and he is a legal practitioner and passionate about inclusion for persons with disabilities. Barrister Lukman, thank you so much. Welcome to our conversation today.
Good morning, everybody. Nice having me.
Good morning. All right, so this presents a full scale profile that we need. We have policy represented here, we have the HR represented, we have media represented, and then we have business represented. And I'm going to start off my question, starting the policy and starting with the chairman of JONAPID in Lagos, which would also give us a sort of background to what the issues are, what the current reality is in terms of inclusion in the workspace for persons with disabilities. And my first question to him would be that from your lived experience as a person with disability, what do you think is the biggest gap between what employers say about inclusion and what the actual implementation is, what is currently on ground and what employers say? What would you say is the biggest gap in that?
Well, good morning, everybody, and nice having me. Yes, the question, answering the question asked, will be multifaceted, but I will try to limit it to the mindset and the reality on ground. As far as the practicability of what is being said in terms of policy and the reality on ground, there's still a gap in the enforcement of employing persons with a disability. Yes, we see so many people talking, so many organizations talking about the employability, employment of persons with disability. But when it comes to the reality of employing, well, the gap is still there. It seems that some states leave services to this advocacy, but when it comes to practicalizing what is being said or what is being agitated for, well, we are still far from where we are supposed to be or where we're heading to. Let me give you a classical example. We've seen universities and polytechnics and college of education graduating persons with disability with good certificates, some with first class, 2-1, and upper credit and co. But you find it very difficult that even few of these people are not being retained to work in the same system that produce them. We have a lot of organizations that give scholarships to persons with disability for them to excel in their studies, and with their outstanding performances, see, they still find it difficult to get employed in some of these organizations. And some that try to employ, they only employ maybe one or two. And in the next 10 years, these two or one person that are employed will still be the one that be using to showcase that they are inclusive in the employment of workers in their organization. So realistically speaking, the gap is still as wide as we can imagine. That is just the reality of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And to summarize what I've heard you say, is that while there's been an increasing amount of persons with disability who are coming out of our education system, qualified with good grades, with what you would say the needed, qualifications to get good jobs, there's still a sort of distant gap between that supply of persons with disability in the marketplace, and then the demand for that. And also that when even some organizations employ persons with disabilities, say one or two of them, it seems as though that is simply their way of ticking the box, not necessarily moving beyond that 1 or 2%. And I think that we can agree, especially those of us that work in this community, that sort of speaks to the reality. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to, then take that conversation, to Mrs. Kemi Shonubi of TVC, and ask that what does dignified inclusive employment for persons with disability mean to TVC as an organization? But beyond that, as an HR person, what do you think organizations in Nigeria, or do you think organizations in Nigeria generally understand this demand that we have? So you are speaking to your organization, first, but also, what do you think organizations generally in Nigeria, do you think they understand, that demand?
Thank you very much, Olalekan. Please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll start off from the last speaker who made a comment about most of us ticking the boxes rather than moving the needle. And I'll tell you for free that I also don't think even that there's still a lot of opportunity even for us at TVC. Yes, we have a platform that helps, amplify these conversations. Yes, we are committed to being a part of that conversation. Yes, we also have people with disabilities as members of staff. Yes, we continuously try to re-educate our personnel on what this means. It's still a long way to go. I know we've started, and it would be good that more organizations also just start the conversation. So for us at TVC, dignity in employment means removing barriers, not lowering standards. It's about ensuring that, every individual, regardless of ability, has one, equal access to opportunity, fair evaluation based on competence, and these things are embedded in our hiring process, and then an environment that enables people perform at their best. So when you talk about inclusive employment for persons with disabilities, it's not charity, it's not meant to be charity, and this would be my call or charge to organizations. It is a strategic and moral imperative. I was watching the videos, I was listening to the different people talk about their experiences, and it just tells you a bigger story. So it reflects how seriously we as a media and broadcast organization, we take fairness, diversity of thought, and innovation. Back in the day when you're talking about diversity and inclusion, all people used to focus about were different levels: age, gender, demography, ethnicity, ethnic, representation. But it's bigger than all of those things. It's now that you're also talking about giving everyone, an opportunity to work effectively. So do I think that organizations in Nigeria fully understand this? No, but we are making progress. It's not enough for me to just say no. I do believe there's progress, because if there isn't progress, even this type of conversations will not be had. And that's why I give kudos to the Project Enable Africa team that consistently says we're going to stay front and center in this conversation. We're not there yet. So as you also rightfully articulated, many organizations are still operating at the level of compliance, optics, or goodwill. So compliance is, we know that we are guided by the provisions of the law, 5%, we speak about it. Optics, how does it make us look? Or goodwill, but true inclusion really requires intentional design, being intentional. So do you have accessible workplaces, inclusive policies, and a leadership mindset shift? And I can tell you that this in itself is one of the bigger ones. So you may have one individual shouting at the top of the mountains, but you need to galvanize the troops, as it were, because until inclusion is actually embedded in how work is structured, not just treated as, when you order for cake and you ask for them to put the cherry on the top, those extra toppings, is not treated as an add-on. We still have a lot of work to do, and that would be my charge to Nigerian organizations in general. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, for, highlighting where TVC stands, which is something we also can attest to. But particularly also alluding to the fact that while there's significant progress, and just apart from TVC, but generally organizations in Nigeria, there is still that gap, which again means that this conversation is important, right?
Yes.
And of course, this conversation itself is a testament to the fact that, we are gradually having conversations about this, but we also need to do more, in terms of actually moving beyond just the representation, goodwill, ticking the box, but actually ensuring that our processes, our policies, and the entire structure of our organization itself is inclusive, right? And that is a core part of our organization. I'm going to move to trust. And the reason why I'm asking this is there is the law. There are organizations like us that are advancing, this conversation. There is the supply of persons or talent with disabilities. However, the reality is that many organizations still not adopting this. And then I'm wondering, it seems there is a gap between, not just the implementation, but it's sort of an awareness, gap. You'll be surprised that some organizations do not, as much as, we keep doing a lot of work, but as much as we keep doing, it still seems that some do not even have an idea, right? And I feel that when something becomes, when the society becomes aware about a particular need, a particular solution, have a particular strategy, it moves beyond a conversation for those people. It becomes something that it becomes a culture in our society. So where do you think we stand in terms of awareness, in terms of actual culture shift in how our workspaces, relate with inclusion? And this is, to you as a media professional.
Confirm you can hear me, please.
Yes, we can.
All right, sweet. So you speak about awareness from the point of the law. And I think I have a contradictory opinion about awareness and the law. I think that the major awareness that should be done should not be as regards the law, but as regards the moral obligation that each organization owes the society. I constantly say every time that in the best, in saner climes, I would like to say, the reason why they give whatever they give to people with disability, it's not because of the law necessarily. It's because they recognize the moral obligation that they owe these people. So it's not necessarily because, oh, the law say give 10% or give 5%. It's because they know that these individuals who by no means their faults have been in this situation deserve a deserving life. And they decide to say, you know what, we'll give the best life possible so you can achieve them in your best possible way. And that is what I think the enlightenment is supposed to be. And on this, I think to a large extent, in my job as a broadcaster, a producer, and of course a communication consultant and all, it's far in between. You see, hardly before you see an ad agency take up a challenge or a pet project and say, you know what, we want to do this pet project and say, uh, disabled people deserve a seat or whatever tagline or big idea they want. What you will see them do environmental, you see them do women, you see them talk about all of these things, right? But you will not see an ad agency pick up a campaign and say, you know what, for our pet projects, we want to campaign about people with disability and why they deserve a seat on the table. That you will never see. You will almost not see a film, because when people think about the media, they think about just radio, TV, and newspaper. You almost never see a film that hopes to project the disabled people as individuals that can work and earn a living. Instead, you'll find out dozens of films that project disabled people as needing arms and begging. All of these things are stereotypes, right? That if we don't we don't find a way to take them out of our screens, basically, will continue to, because to be honest, right, you don't expect a random Joe who just watched a movie yesterday of a person that they sent arrow and the person got blind and the person was living fine before and the person had to return to the village and beg for alms. You don't expect that random Joe to now go to his office tomorrow and tell his HR, you know what, any disabled person that comes for an interview, give the person a chance. That will not happen because his head and in his mind, he already has streamlined it to say, you know what, once I see a blind person or a person on wheelchair, all the person is to give person 20 naira, 15 naira, 100 naira, or at most 2,000. Or the best they will say, okay, you know what, let's do scholarship. Just like the I think chairman of Filasoda pointed out. They give scholarship and yeah, okay, take these people in, it's a no. And like it has been said countless times, I'm never an advocate of people giving disabled people just because they are disabled. No. If as a disabled person, if you want to get something, you have to earn it. And I'm advocate of that. But what I will not stand for is when you take a disabled individual out of the equation simply because the person is disabled. You set interview, the person passed interview. You set your test, the person passed the test. Okay, now give the person the job. Now you instead you give someone else just because the person is disabled. That is the problem, and that is where I think that enlightenment needs to be held in large proportion in our nation, from Lagos and across the nation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Trust, for that. And one of the key things that I picked from what you said is that, of course, inclusion should not be from, that charity model of, just because this person is a person with disability, this person has a challenge, employing them on that basis, but rather because first it is deserving, right? Every member of the society deserves to have an opportunity to express their talent, do meaningful work, could contribute to the quota or to the community or social productivity, right? But also that as long as we have a culture that consistently sees persons with disability from a particular lens, not appropriately, because whoever we meet at our workspaces are also members of the society. They would inherently carry that same perspective, which of course is reinforced by social narrations, reinforced by movies that we watch, reinforced by skits. I mean, I still saw a skit like that, this week. As long as those narratives permeate our media, the individuals who consume this would inherently take those narratives and apply them, in their workspace, either as HR, either as co-workers, either as business owners, right? So that means our conversation, our campaign has to also translate beyond just employers of labors, but also reshaping how the community sees persons with disability. And I think that is profound. Thank you for that contribution. I'm going to also now move on. Now that we're talking about business owners that I mentioned, that my question would now be to Mr. Akinde. You have worked with a lot of startups, you have worked with a lot of organizations, and to be honest, Nigeria, Lagos is becoming a hub of many startups, those that are doing reaching global, spaces, global markets, and those that are solving, indigenous problems. Sometimes when we have conversations with business owners, what they always say sometimes is that they don't get applicants, and some people will talk about the costs of, adopting or employing persons with disability. In your work with different startups, different organizations, what strategy, have you identified for startups or for business owners generally in, finding the right applicants, but also being able to comfortably adopt, inclusion into their workspaces?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Alaliko. Great moderation. Thank you also to the previous speakers, Mrs. Shokumbi, Mr. Trust. Great pointers. I was already jotting some things down, but let me just try and stay on topic, because this is a very, very rich, multi-sided, multi-dimensional conversation. I don't know, to directly answer your question, I don't know that there is a silver bullet or genius answer to strategy for better interacting with persons with disabilities. I think it's as simple as allowing ourselves to reframe how we see the world. I say this because the experience, the transformation that has happened even within us, the team that drives Impact Hub Lagos, the transformation of how we see disabilities ourselves, I think is the greatest benefit of everything we have done. I can talk about how we have a physical facility that has ramps, that has modified toilets that make it more comfortable, that has signs all over the place, that has, all of these things that are disability friendly. But yes, those things are important. But I think the big thing that is missing in society, underpinning all those things that have been spoken about earlier, is the other people in society uh, allowing themselves to be, quote unquote, humble enough to learn exactly what is important from the perspective of the person with disability, for that person with disability to have a rich experience in society. Let me give a little bit of detail about this. There's no way we can talk about all of this without talking about JONAPED, the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities, of which I know that Project Enable Africa is a member. The people at JONAPED, the people in my team, myself and my team members, have learned that pity looks like the normal thing to express from the other members of society toward persons with disabilities. But if you interact closely and listen very well to persons with disabilities, you discover that they don't want your pity. They want to earn the same position. They want to earn. That's why if we really listen to the documentary that was played and listen to persons with disabilities and walk up closely, shoulder to shoulder, very, very close to them, the greatest yearning from them is treat me like an equal. Give me a space to be myself. So one of the things that we've done in our space is that we've made our space so comfortable that persons with wheelchairs, I don't want to mention their names now. There's one name that's coming up in my head because we gist with him, we give him fist bumps, we play with him. He's so comfortable that sometimes I'm just walking by the corridor and he's going to the bathroom or to the toilet, and I see that he's going on the floor. His wheelchair is by the side, but he prefers to go on the floor. Now there's a jarring effect that it has on the rest of us in society. The first time we see that, and we're like, oh, why are you crawling on the floor? Let me help you, let me carry you. But there's some degree of advancement or maturity in that perspective that helps us understand that that is him feeling at home in the environment that has been created for him. It takes a little bit of practice, takes a little bit of self-reprogramming to arrive at that place. And that was what I referred to at the beginning of my contribution, to say that I think the biggest takeaway for me and for my team is that when we see persons with disabilities now, we are chatting with them like regulars, not because we are faking and we are suppressing quote unquote pity and all of those things, right? But because we've interacted with them so much that we've learned that they don't want your pity. And that's because, again, not to sound politically correct, but things like reframing our language to persons with disabilities, differently abled people, because indeed, I have seen genius, literal genius, in some of the people that have been beneficiaries of the programs that we've run at our space. I don't know if I've said enough, but I guess that's some perspective.
Yes. Thank you so much for for even sharing your experience, as a business owner. And, one of the key things that I picked from that is everybody must start from a willingness to do better, right? And it is that willingness, which is a bit of intention, which comes with a bit of humility, which comes with a bit of readiness, right? That then can be built upon. Because if that that intention, that willingness, that decision, right? At first, you may not have an understanding, and I think that is where many business owners find themselves, right? There is no understanding, but that willingness creates room, right, to then experience, to then allow yourself to change, allow yourself to evolve, allow yourself to then modify, and change things, and then become, a better person. And that is what the journey of inclusion, looks like for many non-persons with disability. There's usually a first time, a first contact, right? A first, encounter, a first experience. But what differentiates organizations who then inclusive and those who are not is that decision to say, we may not be inclusive, we may not understand what this, but from this point on, we want to do the right thing. From this point, we want to do better. And that is when organizations like Jonapid, organizations like us can then provide the needed support and then say, okay, these are the you mentioned reframing language, you mentioned, adjusting the workspace. And that is when we can actually see change. And I'm reiterating this because if there's any business owner that is, you're going to come across this video, maybe you're here now, you're going to come across this video later, and you are unsure, you're uncertain, right? You do not know what is this, how do we do this, right? The first thing is to understand, we've established that there is a gap, but understanding that willingness to then say, this is where we are at, and how then can we move on? That solves a lot of problem. Like we used to say, our goal is to ensure that every business owner, every organization becomes disability confident, right? They are able to say, we know where we are, we know what we lack, we know where we need to improve. And I think that's one of the biggest. Thank you so much, for that contribution. I'm still going to come back to you. I would want the chairman of Jonapid to speak about reasonable accommodation, but before I come to him, of course, I also want Trust to, talk about his own experience working in an organization as a person with disability. But I want, Mrs. Shonobi to speak on what businesses can learn about becoming inclusive in terms of their hiring. And I know you've spoken earlier, that it's not just the hiring, you've spoken about policy, you've spoken about certain processes, but I want you to, sort of expatiate, better. And, you're speaking to business owners right now, you're speaking to HR, you're speaking to people who make the decisions in the organization, maybe using from the experience or the journey of TVC, how you have managed employment, how you have managed working in that spaces. What can business owners learn and begin to adopt? What can HR personnel learn and begin to adopt in becoming more inclusive?
Thank you, Olalekan. I think, first of all, whether as an individual or as a corporate organization, well, I'll start as an individual. Within an organization, you have to be somebody of courage. And when I say courage, you need to be able to speak up and articulate what you're trying to sell. Or I won't use the word sell, but what you're trying to introduce, educate, and pass on as a message. And I'm saying this particularly because even for me as a person, I needed to learn, relearn, and unlearn many things around diversity, inclusion, like I rightfully said when I started. And on that journey of self-discovery, I realized that beyond learning for myself, I needed it to be cascaded to my organization. So I can tell you, sitting in meetings and explaining, oh, there's a target, there are policies around this, and I have to re-educate even my colleagues at senior management level who are wondering, okay, why do we need to do this? Why, how does this serve me as an individual? We've worked closely, Olalekan, with you and the team. And like I started off saying, we're not where I think we should be, but we've moved. And that requires a lot of courage because it meant me standing up and saying, I believe we can do this, not because it's just to tick a box for me or even for TVC, but because I know that it is time for us to embrace. So, for organizations, I think the first shift will be understanding that inclusive employment is not charity. It is having access to untapped talent. Many of the speakers before me have reiterated this, that for the longest time, even when we were kids, we looked at people with disability as, let's put them in one corner, hide them. They should be pitied. We should do, we don't understand that they're human like everybody else, right? And I think the younger generation, I'll tell you this for free, they even understand it more than us. I have a Gen Alpha, and she corrects me on terminologies not to use. Words not to use are not acceptable, not because of one policy, but that it's not just being considerate of everyone as human. So if we understand that inclusive employment is not just charity, it is that you have access to untapped talent. So when organizations begin to see it as goodwill, then it becomes optional. Do you see? It becomes, maybe we should. But when you see it as a business strategy, and not just strategy because you want to look good for your investors, for your stakeholders, it becomes non-negotiable. So how do you shift the narrative? First, move the conversation from help to value. We are focusing on skills, perspectives. Remember when I started talking, I was talking of diversity. We know there's diversity of thought, there's gender, there's diversity of ethnic representation, age, demography. So move from help, I'm trying to help, to skills, perspective, problem-solving abilities, right? Because in fast-paced environments like the media, creativity and adaptability are key. So these are not soft advantages. They are actually competitive advantages. The second one will be learning to use data and outcomes, not sentiment. Because if you go into an interview with sentiment, I need to tick the boxes and have this certain number, employers generally respond to results. So, do you want people who can deliver results? Yes. It's not how they look, how they sound, all of that, but making sure that you have the right persons on board and understanding, because when you have inclusive teams, you're able to drive innovation. You are able to improve audience connection. So imagine that, we're in this session now, and I'm seeing Bayonle do a fantastic job with interpreting. Imagine on TV, because we don't think about those things. You have people with disabilities on your team who will tell you that you have a huge audience that are currently not being involved. They can't appreciate what we do because you've not catered to them, right? And I can tell you on this session that this is something we're already working on. It's in the works, right? Being able to infuse, don't relegate. How do we infuse this group of persons into even being part of my audience? That is key for me. And then you strengthen your brand credibility. The third one is you need to be able to redesign systems, not just intentions. I want to, we're open to hiring people with disabilities. Many organizations say that, but their processes are still not yet ensuring that their job descriptions unintentionally exclude, recruitment channels are not accessible. So you say you post this job ad, where is it being posted? How are people able to access it? And when I say everybody, right? And then the work environments are not designed for inclusion. One of the things I know we did with your team, we engaged your team when we were at the part where we were moving into a new organization. And you guys came around, you looked at the building, and you gave us a report. Trust me, that report has formed many changes that were not even thought about originally, right? That's why I said you have to be a person of courage, saying this report is telling us that our office, one of the beautiful things I remember from the report that came out, I was so happy, my heart was bursting, was that, the color scheme that was used in the office, many people don't pay attention to those things, but it matters. It will help people with low visibility, right? Furniture, the size and the size, the shape, design of furniture also would help people who might have height, I try to be careful when I'm using the term. So please, I apologize ahead if I've used the wrong term, but these are things that I'm open to learning with, right? So those were some of the learning for me and my team. The elevator, for example, many of us we just get into the elevator, you punch number 1, punch number 2, but you're not remembering that you have visitors and even members of staff who are visually, they have some visual impairment and they may need an IVR. These are things one has to take it. I will keep talking if you let me, but Olaleko, there's so much more to be said. Make leadership accountable, normalize visibility. And what I mean by that is that, being able to, in our newsrooms, studios, leadership roles, when we see persons with disabilities thriving in those places, it changes the conversation. I will stop there so that I don't take up the whole space. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a lecture, and I'm really, I'm really elated that we're having this conversation and the quality of what all of our speakers are saying. And I think that, we can confidently just share the video of this webinar, to organizations, just go take this and you would learn. And, just also to reiterate for those who have been watching, one of the things that you've said at the beginning is it takes courage, and that's from the individual person, you that is the personnel, you that is watching. Let's start with you. Maybe there are 1,000,001 people out there who are doing nothing, but at least you are here right now. So let's start with you. You have a form of influence, you have a voice in the organization, you occupy a position. Let's start with you. Now that you have, you have the intention, you have the desire, to make a change. It comes with courage, right? To go ahead and speak. But the second thing she said is let's move from help to value, which is profound, right? The conversation is no longer let's help. It's now this is the value that we have been leaving, out on the table, and value in terms of the talent with disability, and also the market quota that you are leaving out, which is what you said on the third point, that that speak with data, speak with data. By the time an organization sees that there is about 15% of the market, that they've been leaving out of, that means that is money left on the table. That is brand credibility. She mentioned that, that you are not tapping into. So if speak with numbers and data, that would help, convert. She said, do you want a short or tall person, or do you want productive person? Right? And that is the conversation that we should be having. And finally, of course, we think your systems, we think the processes. Some people may not be intentionally excluding persons with disability from their spaces, but without proper inclusion, you might be unintentionally excluding them. If you have a vacancy that is inaccessible to a visually impaired person, without doing anything differently, you have automatically excluded them. And these are, the processes that any business can take. Thank you so much for that conversation. I will come back to Barista right now. And I want him to speak on what an inclusive workspace looks like in terms of reasonable accommodation, in terms of the different clusters or categories of disabilities that are more of educating us, what is the picture that we're looking at? What is the picture? What does, if we say an organization is inclusive, if we say employment in an organization is inclusive, what do we expect to see? So that those who are watching and are joining this can look at, okay, this is the where we need to attain. And then they can measure up from, okay, this is where we are, but this is where we are going to. So what does that inclusive work environment, does it look like? What does it, and of course, the impairment categories. Thank you.
Thank you very much again, Mr. Lekan. Let me quickly add to what the last speaker said about what an organization stands to benefit by hiring persons with disability. Yes, I can say for free that there's more commitment and more productivity from a person with disability when they're engaged. I could remember when I started practicing some years back, I worked with one chamber. And when I got to that particular chamber, and I met another person on crutches, and I asked my boss that, why do you take interest in engaging lawyers with disabilities? She said, you don't understand. That you're senior there now. When others are cheating me, taking out of my time to go and do their PP. But once she comes to the office in the morning, she's seated on her seat, doing my job until when she closes, she won't leave that particular job. And that is the reality of people that are fortunate to employ persons with disability. You can be assured of high productivity and commitment from us than any other person, because we want to prove that ability that we can do what you've hired us to do. So now coming to reasonable accommodation. Yes, reasonable accommodation simply means how do you make provisions for persons with disability to work effectively and efficiently in your organization. So the very first thing is what we've been talking about since, intentionality. You have to be intentional about making your office design, your job specific, to be universal in nature. Universal means that it's not about it's not when you get a visually impaired worker or when you get somebody on crutches before you are thinking of how do I make this person productive in the workspace. What you do is that you make your workspace design a workspace in a way that any person that becomes to work in that organization will be able to fit into that organization. And what is that first step, apart from you being intentional about it? The next thing is get knowledge. Get knowledge, because one thing about disability is that disability is heterogeneous in nature. So it's not one cap fits all. What a blind person will need to be effective in a workplace may not be the same thing as somebody that is on crutches or on which, even within the same disability cluster, it may not be the same thing. Somebody on crutches or somebody that's an amputee may need some other things that somebody on wheelchair may not need. You have to get that particular knowledge. And how do you get the knowledge? You get experts in that field. So that is why I think Project Enable is doing this particular exercise now, so that you know where to get that expertise for you to have an inclusive workplace for persons with disability. Then beyond that too, you now come to the physical aspect of it. That is your structure, your infrastructure. So the moment, because even in banks these days, when you get to banks, for people that are not even with disability, to even access the upstairs or some certain places in the bank is a tug of war. So how much more of person with disability? So you have to make sure that the necessary accessibility infrastructure are made available in the banks. Yeah, people talk about ramps, fine. It's for a particular cluster, accessible. Rail, that is the guide by the side. So it's very important for blind person. Title mark, then color differentiation that the madam from TV talked about, and furniture. All these are very, very important when it comes to the office, the physical structure of the office too. The other thing is that the arrangement of the office is very key too. I'm a lawyer, I practice. When I walk into some courts in Nigeria, even as small, as big as I may be, I will not be able to walk straight. I have to bend to show how that the chairs and the furniture in the court are arranged. So now imagine if the person happens to be on a wheelchair or to be on crutches, how will the person be able to access the courtroom? So that's arrangement. Then you now go to human training, because training is not meant for the HR alone. The people you interact with in the office is very key. You have to understand that, yes, at regular time, person with disability will need support. It's not a must that you engage or you employ a different person to be supporting that particular person. But the moment you have that orientation, you have that system in place that every work in the office is teamwork. So it will be easier for me to go and meet my colleague to support me in the area where I will need that particular person. Yes, we talk about technology. Technology, yes, you have to be provide technology so that we'll be. But even beyond providing technology, person with disability will eventually need human support. That's why internationally they always provide aid and some other assistive support system that are being rendered by person that are not with a disability. So these are some of the things that we have to put in place. And upon it all, the most important thing is that let us stop judging the book by the cover, because most of the challenges we encounter when it comes to employment is, even if before you participate in an interview, already that person's mind is even made up. What the person is seeing is inability. What the person is seeing is the person not be able to do particular job. And one thing I think that is very frequent in Nigeria that is affecting person with disability is that when you are employed to do some other jobs which ordinarily may not be within your area of specialization. For example, if you're employed as a teacher today, you're employed as a classroom teacher, but in a regular school, they want you to play the role of a nanny if care is not taken, which a person with disability may not be able to do effectively. And as a result, instead of looking at that core purpose for which that person is employed, they will look at the other incidental function that they want the person to be doing. For example, when you get to some some private schools, already the teachers are already standing at the gate receiving the children. Oh, do this, do that, with those ecstasy, just to welcome the child to the children to the school, which a blind person or somebody may not be able to do. They will not see the fact that the person can effectively deliver in the classroom, but because he will not be able to do all those ancillary duties or tasks, they will not employ that particular person. Some may want to employ a lawyer, but they want to make that lawyer to be his PA, which a blind lawyer may not be able to, or somebody on crutch lawyer may not be able to do. So all these things, let's try and professionalize our workspace and make sure that persons are employed to do based on what they say they can do, not based on what we think should be an added task that they should be doing. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was an intensive, mouthful, lecture on that. Thank you so much. I think that our speakers, please let's just appreciate our speakers today. It's been amazing. It's been amazing. Thank you so much, Barrister, for adding that. And I believe that if there's anyone who is listening, you definitely have learned. You have learned. One thing he said in passing, in case you did not hear when he said that, is that first, when you're thinking of inclusion in the workspace, think of global accessibility. You are not necessarily just saying, oh, because of persons with disability. Your goal is, let's make a workplace where anybody can work, can function. Anyone can come in and function. Anybody can come in and function, no matter the diversity, no matter the difference. A place where you can take your organization to anywhere in the world and everyone would want to work. But also, he mentioned that there is now certain specific provisions that need to be made for certain kind of disabilities, which is where knowledge comes in, which is where organizations like ours, like Jonapid, come in to then provide what those accommodations are. And he has spoken about some of them. And then finally, which is, again, what we've said before, intentionality that drives, every part of it. Thank you so much. And I know that we're wrapping up this conversation as we go, but before we go, trust. You are a person with disability and you've been working, you've worked across, different areas. You work with different organizations, and you also work primarily in the media and the broadcasting, organization. What is, from your own experience now, and of course, Barista has also shared some experience as working as a lawyer in his own field. What has been the experience? And your experience in terms of from your own perspective, but also what has changed over the years in, maybe because of the contributions, the suggestions that you brought into that space. What has changed? And generally, what has your experience been for you?
Right, so I would like to answer this question by citing an example. First, piggybacking on what Barrister spoke about around auxiliary roles. I remember when I was interviewing for a job and I did the interview, of course, as usual. I aced the interview, everything was great until one individual in the panel asked a simple question. Simple but complex, and I don't know. He said, at some points, we will need you to do record videos. How will you record videos? And my answer was simple. I told him, I clearly can't record videos. The same way other people around here can't give 100% and give you 100% on everything. If you need someone who can record videos, then I'm not the person for you. But if you need someone that will give his best, even if not 100%, same as no one on this that will do this interview today will give you 100%. If you need that individual, then I'm the one for you. And when I said that, another individual in the panel said, I love your confidence. And I smiled and I got the job. Now, the reason for that confidence was because, of course, I understood what my role was to do in that team. And I understood my ability and my capacity to deliver on the primary role of that job. So if you're bringing auxiliary role to me and try to knock me out just because I'm blind, and you want to show that this person can't do video, so if we need him for video, he won't be there to do it. I let him know that I am not perturbed by that you're thinking, even if it is a stupid thinking, but I'm not perturbed by it. But if you need me for what is primary, I am here to deliver. And this confidence is always what I tell people with disability to have. Confidence on your abilities, not hoping that someone will look at you and just give you the job. And because of this confidence that I think I've got as being the reason why I think working so far in some instances has been maybe 65-70% smooth, especially where I work presently. I was talking to a colleague and I was telling the colleague that as far as I'm concerned, I think I've got great people around who, right now, of course, I'm not longer an assistant. I'm now leading some teams and doing some things. And there's not been a single time when I tell people to do A, B, C, or D, and they say no, because they trust me. To that point where I build capacity, the point where people trust that if trusted this is what to be done, then we should think about it twice. And you see, it's very, very much important. And I keep on saying it every time and again, that in organizations who tend to listen to people with disability, they are bound to do well. But if you tend not to listen, then it's on you, totally on you. So I think so far in communication space or in the place where I work, it has been relatively fair. But of course, it hasn't been without challenges. There are times when, oh, I want to switch jobs, so I want to um, indicate my interest for some consultancy business as a communication consultant myself. And I get the no. I remember a situation, I've said the story 1,000 times, when concluded a deal with an individual virtually. The individual didn't know that I couldn't see until he said, okay, let's have a physical meeting so we can just wrap up and do like a strategic meeting physically. And I turned up and like, oh, are you the one I've been talking to over the phone? I said, yeah, I'm the one. Oh, you can't see? I said, yes, I can't. And oh, no problem. I will get back to you. Till today, I'm still waiting for the call to get back to me. And this was an individual before I met him physically, confirmed that, oh, you're the best consultant I've been speaking to. You know exactly what I want. Oh, da 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 da. You totally understand the brief. And yeah, you met me physically, and all of a sudden, I don't understand the brief anymore. And this again has happened situations where someone told me clearly that, oh, you answered the question correctly, everything is nice, but we don't trust you to deliver. And I asked a simple question. Why don't you trust me to deliver? Of course, the person was graceful or gracious enough to say, because of your disability. And I asked them another question. How will you ascertain, aside, forget me, the other person you'll probably give this job to, how will you ascertain if the person is competent and will deliver? I said, oh, I'll conduct interview and do the test and all of, and the person passed, I will know that person. I said, but I've just passed your interview and your test. But you still don't believe that I am competent simply because I am blind. The same thing that the other person will do, then how then will you confirm that that person is competent just because the person can see? So you see, it's always challenging when you look at such situations that is a problem. And that is why in vast majority of instances, it is very difficult in this part of the world for people with disability to break glass ceilings. Most people who are disabled, you won't see them in boardrooms making great decisions that affect companies, because even the companies that hire them probably just leave them in the background. So you know what? Just be there at least at least you take salary at the end of the month, and they will say that we employed you. And that is not the way to go. You see, countless times, for me personally, I say it every time and time again, I might be one of the privileged ones who happen to um, be in a situation where people value what I say. But we have to move beyond an individual to people understanding that you have to value
Absolutely.
A, because the person is disabled, not because he's disabled, but because the person brings value to the
Value.
organization.
All right. Thank you so much. I mean, it was exactly what I was looking for when I asked, that question. And clearly, one of the things you said, which is uh, you have moved, through the different part of your organization. Now you lead a team, and that speaks to, what we're saying: competence, productivity, value, what people can deliver, what people can do, and of course, some of the experiences you've shared are, things that we've also, heard, right? But if there's any employer here, any business owner here, and what you value is productive work, what you value is to get the job done, then inclusion is the right way to go. Then is, ensuring that you have access to talents that are committed, like Barista said, and that's something that is true. Actually, persons with disability bring a drive that is unmatched. They bring a drive and energy, a commitment that is unmatched, right? And that is what you are getting access to when you make sure that your workplace is decent, is inclusive, and all-encompassing. Comfortable for persons with disability and everyone to walk in. It's been a wonderful conversation, and we're wrapping this up. I would just want every of our speaker to to say one thing, that they are going to, be leaving this conversation with. And it's beautiful because our speakers are speaking to different people, right? Mr. Idowu is speaking to business owners, speaking to startups, speaking to people who are leading the organizations, who are making decisions, who need a strategy, right? So you're going to be leaving them with one key thing, both from your experience running your organization, being an inclusive organization, and from what you have heard here, Mrs. Shonubi is going to be speaking, to people who are in charge of causing this change or translating this change to processes, to policies, training people. Barista is also going to be speaking to all of us, from, because of the role that it plays, and then just an extension of what Trust has also said to persons with disability, themselves, right? So I'm just going to call us, one after the other. What is that one final message? Of course, we can exhaust this conversation, and that is why we keep coming back over and over, to say this in different words and with different examples. But one final message that you're leaving to everyone watching and those who are going to pick up this video later to watch. I'm going to start from Mrs. Shonobi. That one final message.
Thanks, Olaleko. Final message. I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. I think it's that if we continue to frame inclusion as charity, we would always operate from a place of limitation. But when we recognize that it is a talent strategy, we would unlock broader thinking, stronger teams, and of course, more resilient organizations. Because the question is no longer, why should we hire persons with disabilities? It now becomes, why would we ignore a segment of talent that can, strengthen the business? So that's really is the question. Why would we ignore a segment of talent that can strengthen our business? If we keep asking ourselves that question, we would not see people with disabilities as an issue, but as something that strengthens the organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As you're saying that, I'm definitely looking at my comms team and saying, I want to see that on social media. I want to see that, in the quote on social media so that I can share, and share with people. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to Mr. Idowu Akinde, your final word and message to.
Okay, thank you once again to everyone. Great job so far, Mr. Olaleko. For me, if I may, can I use the start, stop, continue template? 3 bullet points.
Okay.
Stop. Let me start with stop. Stop reframing to all business leaders. Stop reframing support and integration of persons with disabilities as a CSR, as a PT project, or as a charity project. Okay, stop that. Let me mention start. I would say start integrating what I may call the DNA of inclusivity, the DNA of accessibility into the organization. And by organization, I mean the processes, the daily interactions. If that organization has a community, the way to interact with members of that community and foster connections, as well as physical facilities. So the gentleman, I think his name was Alaji Lukman, mentioned earlier that, the degrees to which people should pay attention to physical buildings. So that's start. Continue would have to be to remind business owners to continually self-interrogate, introspect, self-question. Do our recruitment processes truly inclusive? Mr. Shokunbi mentioned a little bit of this earlier, but recruitment processes is one, promotion processes is another. The choice of holidays that we celebrate. Do we celebrate International Women's Day but are silent to International Men's Day? Do we celebrate the day of the person with disability but continue to second guess where we have blind spots, for those things. Those are the 3 things that I would leave us with. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I liked the stop, start, and continue framing, right? So of course, Comsting, I also want to see that, on social media. Right. Thank you so much for putting it in that concise frame. So I would go to Trust, your final message and word.
My final word would be to you recruiting. Um, you are not doing disabled people a favor by employing them, by employing us. You are doing yourself a favor as well. Because disability comes anytime. It could be you, it could be your relative, it could be anyone you know. And that situation or that integration you refuse to do, you then need that integration to foster yourself in life or that of your relative or your child. Then you then look for the integration that you failed to implement when you had a chance. And then you regret and you wished you did. Don't be that individual that wish that he or she did something when he or she can. You must do it now for everyone and for yourself. And for people who are disabled, when you get to the door, when you get there, remember, you are not just carrying your hope. Ensure that when you step out, because of the experience they have with you, the people who allowed you in also will allow someone else that is disabled simply because of the good experience they had with you. Always remember, just like the black, anything one black does, that is how black people behave. So anything an individual who is disabled will do, that is, they will say, oh, disabled people, that is how they do things. So if you are good at your job and good at what you do, trust me, they will say, oh, disabled people, they are great people, give them a chance. But if you do badly, unfortunately, they will say, don't mind them, oh, they won't do it well. So please, you carry the hope of millions of people you meant to step into the door. And for people who are recruiting, do it for us and do it for yourself. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. If there's any person with disability listening to this, I think that is a charge, you need to run with. And, I'm glad that there are lots of good testimonies from persons with disabilities that are working in, especially from some of, our partners. It's always been good testimonies. And, once you see yourself as an ambassador, because of you, are opening the door for many more persons with disability to get good work. Thank you so much. And finally, I would go to Barrister Lukman Salami. Your final word to everyone.
Well, let me re-echo what my panelists have said, but to add to what they've said, I will just, if I'm allowed to change that word, PWD, person with disability, I would have changed it to a society with disability. Don't let us see disability in persons again. Let's see disability in the organization so that we'll be able to provide for everybody that may need our service or that may need to work with us. So think of a society without disability that will accommodate everybody instead of looking at the limitation of persons with disability that may discourage them from being gainfully employed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. I think it's been an amazing morning. It's been a good conversation. It's been a great way to spend this Workers' Day. And I'm so confident that everyone who has listened, anyone who has listened and who will pick this up will be enlightened, will be encouraged, will be, would have renewed energy, renewed intention, renewed focus to go out there to make a change, in your organization, in your spaces. And maybe you are not even in a decision maker in your organization, but you now know enough. Mrs. Shonubi has talked about data, about numbers. You now know enough to go out there, go to someone you can speak with, and then, start that conversation. And you don't know how far, that conversation can go. And of course, if you do need any help along the journey, that is what our organization is set up for, to help you become confident, in this inclusion journey. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mrs. Kemi Shonubi. Thank you, Mr. Idowu Akinde. Thank you, Trust Inonse. Thank you, Barrister Lukman Salami. Thank you for an amazing conversation. Finally, before we go, I want us to put our cameras. We want to take a picture. This is the reality of today's world. We now take pictures on Zoom. So, Thompson, please let me know when you're ready to take the picture. Kemi or Vivian. And then if you have taken it, just let me know.
Right.
So I'm not getting any message from you.
In 20 seconds. Yeah.
In 20 seconds. Okay.
We're done. We're done. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much. I leave you back to our amazing radio eagle, Oluwakemi.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much.
All righty. Thank you very much once again to the panelists. And we really do appreciate you for joining in this conversation. Sometimes we need to always remind ourselves for and of the need for inclusion because it's very, very paramount. All right. So at this juncture, we're going back to the community. Is there any question and answer? I don't think we have any at the moment. Thank you for your reactions. We see you. We see you dropping the reactions. Thank you. Appreciate. And don't forget to like, share this video because you never can tell. Someone out there will definitely need it. I'm not even using the word might. They will definitely need it because disability has come to stay regardless of any, religious affiliation, political, include what have you. But hey, disability is what it is. So we have just about 3 minutes to round up this session, but I would definitely not go without trying to remind you of what we are currently doing at Project Enable Africa, just like my, amiable executive director as stated earlier on, right? At Project Enable Africa, we advocate, we implement project programs for and of persons with disabilities to ensure an inclusive society where everyone's voice actually matters. This is what we do at Project Enable Africa. If you go on our website, www.projectenable.africa, you will get to know more, find out more of what we've done in the past, what we are currently doing, and what we hope to also achieve through our strategic plans and project. And in case you have someone with a disability out there and you're wondering, can our voices actually be heard? Why not if not? Tell me, why not if not? There is currently a survey that is ongoing. It has to do with the health inclusion, right? Trying to gather the opinions, views of persons with disabilities concerning health because, hey, health is wealth. Sometimes they say it, right? So it's very, very important. Please ensure that you fill in the form. It's in the comment section on Facebook. If you're watching us directly on Facebook, watching us on YouTube, it's pinned there, and also on Instagram. There is a link for the survey. Please do well to fill it as a person with disability. Or you're wondering, I'm not a person with disability. Yeah, no wahala now. But I'm sure that in your church, in your community, you have one person or the other who has a disability and would want to, contribute or allow their voice to be heard. So please help to, send this to the person, so that they can also feel it. Okay? Very, very important. All right. At this juncture, I'd like to say very thank you to our sign language interpreter who has been on the call, Mr. Observer, bridging the gap between the deaf, hard of hearing individual and the hearing community. A very big thank you to you. And I'm giving you a sign, thank you. This is our, clapping sign. All right. So this is an inclusion for everyone. All right. And a very big thank you as well to the team at Project Enable Africa for ensuring that this actually takes place, regardless of the obstacles that we face. I am using this medium to say very big thank you to you, the comms team, the programs team, the productivity team, the HR team, which of the team have I not mentioned? The IT team, everybody, and to the group entirely, the Stanford Edge team as well. Till next time, please do not forget that inclusion is not just a buzzword. It needs to be actionable, and it starts with your mind, things you do within your community that transcend to the larger society. I remain your beautiful baby girl, Oluwakemi Odusanya, known as Queen of the Eagle. Till next time, adios.